Now that we've looked at how to open up and utilize a terminal in the most basic sense, we should dive in deeper into using the Bourne-Again shell, commonly known as the bash shell. The general behavior of executing commands in a bash shell is to type out a command, any of its options you wish to use, and the arguments the command requires. Not all commands require arguments and options to perform work, but you'll learn how to use each command in its own proper way throughout time. Once you've completed forming your command, you'll simply press enter to execute the instruction set. Once the work is complete from that command, it'll return you to a prompt. Here, you can see a simple example command. In this example, the whoami command returns the name user, or the username that the current person is logged in with. Oftentimes, you may need to either string together commands, or they may need to take up more than one line. When you need to do this, simply use the semicolon as a command separator. Commands that take up more than one line can continue to be typed, and the command should wrap to the extra line. The semicolon is one of a number of meta characters that we have throughout Bash. We'll see more of these throughout the course, but tuck that away for now. In the example shown here, we're using the semicolon to string two example commands together. We would simply type command 1, the semicolon, and then command 2. These are placeholder commands, but represent any command, its options, or arguments that you'd like to string together in this fashion. That's a basic overview of command syntax. In our next segment, we'll look at some example commands. An entire library of commands are now at your fingertips now that you have access to the command line interface in a Linux environment. As you grow in your Linux skills, so too will the list of commands you're familiar with using. Throughout the rest of this course, we'll explore many of these commands as well as how to look up the manual pages for each and explore the further usage of their options and arguments in more robust situations. To begin, however, we'll need to equip you with a few simple commands that are commonly used throughout all Linux environments. Here, you can see an example of the date command. Another helpful command that you'll need is the password command, or passwd. This allows a user to change their own password. In many system administration environments, there can be timers that are equipped to trigger this interaction so that you can rotate your passwords and keep the security of the environment. In this example, however, we're just looking at how to invoke a simple password change for the current user you're logged in with. Let's invoke the passwd command for my current demo user. The first thing it'll ask for is the current password. Now that you've entered the current password correctly, you can supply a new password. You'll be asked to re-enter this after the initial entry. Note that while I just put in a simple password, it warned me that that's too short for an appropriate level password. Let's try again and use something a bit stronger. Alright, I'll once again enter my current password, and now the new password. Here, the password fails a dictionary check. This means that the word I entered is too commonly found in the dictionary and thus would make for a bad password. Now let's go ahead and set a proper strength password. We'll supply our current password, and now the new one. Now that I've supplied an appropriate length and strength of password, my password has now been updated. When I go to log in with this user going forward, I'll need to supply this new password. Now that we understand how to rotate our password, let's continue looking at some additional commands. By design, Linux does not require or enforce specific file extensions. In lieu of that, we have the command file. The file command scans a file and determines what kind of content is within that file. Let's take a look at an example on the command line. Here, I'll look at the credential password file. We can see it's known as an ASCII text document. Other examples exist as well. In this case, let's look at the binary version of the same file. Here we can see a much different kind of file. The file command is able to identify the two different types. This will be helpful as you explore the operating system and need to understand the types of files you're encountering. That concludes a look at just a few of the simple commands we'll encounter in Linux. See you in the next section where we start working with how to view and edit files.